Nithyananda, everybody. It's been a couple of days since I came on live on Facebook and shared. Uh, so I thought, okay, I had a couple of days to think about what is it that I wanted to continue to do. And I really quite like the idea of uh, finishing the Guaranteed Solutions book, if you like. And so I thought, let me go back to the intro, the introduction where Swamiji starts. Well, there is intro to the intro itself, but now I'm going to share where Swamiji shows how the mind, like how the mind actually works. Okay, so there's a map, and I think that's quite useful because it's part of the guaranteed solutions, but also part of experiencing enlightenment. So that's the bit that I thought I'll start doing first. I thought I might dive into the next chakra. In the book, the next one is the Manipuraka chakra, which is the one lower than the Anahata chakra, and it gets blocked by worries. But it didn't make sense. If I can go back to this one because the intro is actually pretty good. Well, of course, all of Swamiji's material is pretty good, more than pretty good. It's something that I feel will be very useful for people if they heard, um, or if you haven't visited the Guaranteed Solution, then let me just show you the mind map. So this is the mind map. I don't know if it's mirrored in the actual, what do you call it, in the picture, in the camera. But anyway, we're going to go through this as to um, how when we see things or take information through the five senses, then it goes after we've received information from the five senses, either through the eyes, nose, ears, tongue, touch, then it becomes a digital. After that becomes a digital signal processor, which means it goes to the chakshu, which is the DSP, a digital signal processor. This is where you see that even if there isn't an elephant in the room, and we if somebody asked us to visualize an elephant, we can just close our eyes and visualize, because we have a digital imprint of that in our inner space. And then once we see something, it becomes, obviously, goes to the chakshu, then it goes to the chitta, which is memory. And here the process of elimination happens like this. For instance, if you've seen if you've seen an elephant, for instance, so this part here, the memory part, the elimination part, is where the system says, well, this is not this, this is not this, this is not this, so this is not a dog, this is not a tree, this is not a house, this is not, etc., etc., a car. It goes through that, then it goes to the mind. This is as in the mind then goes into this, that's where the identification happens, like as in this is it, this is the elephant. From there, all of that info goes down to the manas, for ego, basically, as in to make a decision on how to whether react or respond to whatever's happened. So, for instance, if you've had a really, really bad time with dogs, and you see a dog, then this whole process we go through this process quite quickly, and then we decide to either fight it out or run away, flight. That's one part, but then the other part might, the learned part might be, you might avoid, you might pretend to be brave, etc., etc. So there are different ways to react once the information has gone down to the ego. Well, that's where you decide on how you're going to react. So anyway, let me go through what Swamiji has to say. Okay, so I'll read parts of the book and see what other insights come up. So I trust you can hear me. Indrajit, can you hear me, by the way? Just let me know if you can. I don't know. Sometimes when I have my earphones on, I don't know if I can hear or not. So yes, Indrajit, Nithyanandam. Okay, Wade is there. Peter, Bhavya Shri Nithyanandam, Ananda Kishore Dadi, Priya Nithyanandam, Luang, Neeraj, and Jatinder Bajaj. Oh, okay. So just wait. Anyway, here we go. Okay, so yes, you can hear me. Great. So let me start. Here, Swamiji says, so this is again still the guaranteed solutions, which I was reading last, like some 19 days ago or 20 something days ago. I did the whole thing. So this book is called The Guaranteed Solutions, and it's written by His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam. So here he goes. All right, let us now get into the subject. Why should you attend this chakra meditation camp? What does it hold for you? Let me try to answer this question in this session. For that, let us first analyze the working of the mind. For that, let us first analyze the working of the mind. I just reread that. The mind is the only thing that stands in between you and you. If you can drop your mind, you become enlightened. How does the mind work? Just look at this diagram, which is what I was showing earlier. So this is the diagram. So there you see the I, which is this part here, the I. So we start here. So this is where we take in, so this is just an example of one of the senses, but we take in information in many, many different ways. So you have the I, and then you have the digital, you can, if I bring it closer, the digital signal processor, then it goes to the memory, then it goes to the mind, and then it goes down to the ego. There we go. Let's see that clearly. That's where you decide, okay, this is where you're going to decide, this is how you're going to react to the whole thing, to whatever is presented in front of you. So that's the map. So how does the mind work? Just look at this diagram here facing the page. It is a diagram to show how the information that enters through the eye, not just the eye, but the ears, the nose, all these different parts of us, the five senses, actually, not just the information through the eye, but information through all five senses, as Swamiji is saying it himself. That is through the nose, the ears, the tongue, touch, and the eye. As an example, we are now taking the eye. Let me explain to you. When you see something first, the eye sees it. There is something called chakshu in Sanskrit, which digitizes the information seen by the eye. It is something like a digital signal processor, the DSP. The signal or the input is converted into a digital file by this chakshu. So I just pause there for a moment. So this is what I meant by, like, if you close your eyes and if I say to you, think of an elephant, an image will appear in your inner space. Now that's a digital imprint, isn't it? So that's what's happened. The signal or the input is converted into a digital file by this chakshu. This conversion happens to the information received through all the five senses, not just the eye. Then the file goes to the memory. In Sanskrit, we call this portion chitta. In the memory, a little more work is done on the file. For example, if you're seeing me now, the file is processed through the chakshu, then taken to the chitta memory, and the memory starts analyzing the information. It does a process of elimination on the file received. It starts saying, this is not an animal, this is not a plant, this is not a rock, etc. The process of elimination is done by the chitta. Then the file goes to the mind or manas. The mind does the job of identifying the file. It says, this is a human being who is taking a class. The mind concludes, this is it. Next, the whole file takes a quantum leap to the ego, and your ego decides, based on your past experiences, what your next action or decision is. If you have past experiences with similar classes, say yoga or meditation, and they have been all right for you, if you think that it has helped, you will decide to sit here. Else you will think it is better to leave. So we make quite quick, rash decisions depending on what our past experiences have been of that particular incident, person, even ethnicity, culture, all sorts of things. Just try to understand this process. You are seeing me. The eye passes the information to the chakshu. The chakshu converts it to a digital signal. The memory then does all the elimination on the file. This is not, this is not. Then the mind does the identification of the file. This is it. Then the whole file takes a quantum leap to the ego. Here you decide based on your past experiences whether to sit here or leave the hall. Now let us call the time for the process between the I and the mind as TP. TP is the time taken for the process between the I and the mind to happen. So the time is taken for the sense to for you to receive the information through the senses, and then for it to go to the point where the mind recognizes as this is it. Okay, so that is TP. This process between the I and the mind is logical and conscious. You are completely aware of this process. It happens with your awareness. Now, the quantum leap from the mind to the ego is mostly unconscious. That is the time when the actual decisions are taken. That is the time when the actual decisions are taken is mostly an unconscious process for you. It happens without your awareness. So let us call this time TQ, as in quantum, I guess. Let us call this time TQ. Okay, so the time between the I or the senses getting the information and it going to the mind is TP, and from the mind to the ego is TQ. During this time, you simply decide illogically, you decide against your logic thought process, you take illogical decisions. Why does this happen? Why do you decide unconsciously and regret later? I am sure many of us that are watching understand this. Why does this happen? Now, I'm on Nirahara most days, so from Monday to Saturday, I'm on liquids only, and Sunday I eat. And I usually look forward to eating, but then after I eat, I'm like, why did I do that? I do have this, why did I do that to myself? Anyway, I'll get back to reading. So Swamiji says, why does this happen? Why do we decide? Why do you decide unconsciously and regret later? The reason is this unconscious zone is filled with negative memories and restlessness. So all incompletions is what Swamiji is talking about here. All your past memories, which we call samskaras in Sanskrit, all your past thought patterns are stored in this zone as files. In the field of psychology, they use the word engrams to denote these stored memories. There are so many files stored in this zone without any logical connection between them. These memories or incidents are stored here. What happens is when the file takes a quantum leap to this zone, there is so much of data stored, which causes so much restlessness in you that the file does not even reach the ego properly for a decision. These stored engrams simply start playing upon the information received. They just impose themselves and cause havoc in the decision-making process. I'm sure most of you understand and are able to relate to what Swamiji is saying here, what Bhagavan is saying here. As a result, the ego just takes a hasty decision purely at the instinct level and passes the file back. It happens as an unconscious process. So, for example, according to the data that you have collected, you know that smoking is injurious to health. It is not good for your body or your mind. You hold on to this decision as long as you are in the TP level. Okay, so, this is interesting. Okay, good. So you hold on to this decision as long as you are in the TP level, which is from the moment the eye or the nose, skin, touch, taste, whatever, gets the information, it goes through the DSP, so it goes to the chakshu, it goes to the chitta, then it gets to the manas, which is the mind. Up to that point, all of this makes sense. It's like smoking is injurious to health. But Swamiji says, but once the mind takes the leap to the ego, the engrams just instruct you to smoke. You simply decide to smoke. The conscious process says no. So the logical process between you taking the information into the mind says no. Oh my God, this is making so much sense. The conscious process says no, it is not good for health. But the unconscious processes, actually, it doesn't even say, it just takes the decision and you execute it. It is a pure instinct level decision. So many people know that smoking is bad for them, but they can't help but smoke it. So Swamiji is just so beautifully explained the whole process and broken it down to what's happening and what's getting in the way. So if anybody, by the way, wants to learn how to complete these engrams, well, this is an old book in terms of the old, the references Swamiji is given to engrams. So now it would be incompletions. So if you want to learn how to complete, you should definitely attend Kalpataru, which is a 1-day free program. And this would really be taken care of. Okay. Anyway, this unconscious area is very powerful. It can be used in 3 ways: at the instinct level, the intellect level, or the intuition level. As long as the unconscious is overloaded with negative memories and restlessness, it works at the instinct level. As we just saw, you simply decide instinctively, unconsciously. When you are at the instinct level, you always end up regretting most of your decisions. Oh my God, this is making even more sense now. You wonder, why did I behave in that fashion? This is not me. How did I allow this to happen? How did I take that decision? This happens because the unconscious is working at the instinct level. At this level, you just associate things without any logical connection and jump to a conclusion unconsciously. Okay, so obviously, the more incompletions we have, the more we operate on an instinct level. So there is not much thinking through happening. There isn't much space or time even to think through. It is just before you know it, like for someone who may be smoking or maybe overeating or maybe have some other things like alcohol, it can be chocolate, it doesn't matter, it can be anything. Why? Like logically we know this is bad for us. So for instance, if we want to be losing weight, we want to be healthy, we want to be detoxing, even things like sugar, salt, these kind of things which are not necessarily good for you, but we know it can be like, we know that we need to stop it, but we can't help but take it. And what's getting in the way is obviously what Swamiji calls as engrams, these heavy files that are sitting there in our inner space and overloading our system. Therefore, we are just making quick, instinctive decisions, reactionary decisions, rather than thought through responses to a situation presented to us. So I'm just wondering whether I'm going to stop here or continue. Okay, let me finish this part. For example, if Swamiji says, for example, if you've been disturbed by somebody who was wearing a white dress, the moment you see somebody wearing a white dress, the past memory simply comes up without your knowledge and you feel the anger. Oh my God, how true is this? This is the instinct level. So if you find yourself during the day upset for no reason, then it's good to track back to see, well, what actually happened. Did you see something? Did you smell something? Did you taste something? Did you touch something? Did you smell something which has triggered something from the past? And that's why you're feeling upset now. And that's why you're feeling anger, sadness, hatred, whatever it is that's come up. So if that is happening, then it is us operating at an instinct level without your conscious mind, without even you understanding. Just like that, it happens. Before sometimes we just react. A lot of the times we may react. Why is that happening? Now we know. If we look at the mind map properly, study it properly, and start applying it, mapping it back to our inner space and how we're actually operating like that, it will make sense. Okay, so let me just straighten out the camera a little bit. Okay, in the Chakshu diagram, which I showed earlier, you have to plow through many files in the quantum leap to ego. You are at the instinct level. When the file goes to the unconscious, the decision is taken with many distortions. You will be continuously passing judgment. Your unconscious will be so overloaded with your memory files. When you function this way, you will also feel tired. It is something like this. When your hard disk is loaded with all high resolution photographs, there is no scope to work further on your hard disk, is it not? It's going to be slow. The computer is going to be slow, isn't it? So, in the same way, when your unconscious is loaded with past thought patterns and memories, it becomes inefficient and simply takes superficial and illogical decisions. Okay, so I'll stop at this point here. Because the next level, I'll talk about it tomorrow. I hope you guys haven't had too much disturbance with my mic. I just realized that I may be scraping through. Anyway, so I'll go to the intellectual level description tomorrow. So today we're just talking about instinct level. So what happens to a person who, examples Swamiji has given, is smoking. I mean, we're all familiar with many people who may be, or maybe, even if it's not smoking, it's maybe eating chocolate. Some of us are addicted to eating chocolate. We know too much chocolate, too much sugar is going to be bad for us. But what do? Next thing we know, we've opened up a big bar of maybe even milk chocolate with tons of added sugar. Maybe not even like a good, healthy, possibly good chocolate, which would not have the calories, but you still get the taste, like really, really good organic chocolate, for instance. We just open the bar before open the wrapper before the whole chocolate is gone. So what's happened? So Swamiji is explaining from the point, looking at this, so looking back at this map here, okay? So from the moment you've seen it to the mind level, to this point, it's all logical. You and me know that we shouldn't be doing this, but we do it anyway. Why? Because this point logically makes sense, but from the mind to the ego to the subconscious, where all the big files are stored, all the incompletions are stored, the heavy files are stored, there the quantum leap happens between the mind and this part, is where we become at an instinct level and we just make rash decisions like that, just like that. I mean, not even a fraction of a second, if you like. If that can even be measured. Sometimes it's even faster than that. So that's why completion is so important, so that you have space in your inner, you have space in your inner space. You have more space in your inner space to be able to respond to a situation, think through, and then decide to match up, So obviously the information given is too much smoking or smoking anything at all is injurious to your health, but still we do, still people smoke. Why? How? And it's very simple actually. Looking at this mind map, all each person would need is completion, completion with the patterns, the engrams, as Swamiji has mentioned here, so that the decision to not smoke can also happen. Okay, so I'll finish that with that. It's called the instinct level. That's the first one. Tomorrow we're going to look at the intellectual level. Okay, so, and you ask like a quick hi to Wendy. Hi Ma, Drida, Nithyanandam, Saras, Nithyanandam, Haris, Nithyanandam, Maria, Veronique, and Nika, and George Pereira. Yes, Nithyanandam, it's been a while. So Haris is saying that's me and chocolates. Just one, and then the box went empty. Yes. So you're operating, Hadis, in that moment. Nothing to judge, okay? You're operating from the instinct level, where the engrams, are making you decide very irrationally, I beg your pardon, irrationally, that you must eat this chocolate, and then you regret later, and exactly what Swamiji is saying in the first part of the reading. So one is, love that rich color that you're wearing. Oh, red is my favorite color actually. I do like it a lot. Yes, Hadis is saying because there's no more chocolates, that's why you stopped. Yes. And then you're like, why did I do that? Why did I eat a whole box of chocolates? Why is, if you look back at the mind map, you'll see that's why. Okay, so if I'm going to see if I can take a picture and then load it onto the comments to this video, and I will upload this video onto YouTube as well, so you can watch it there. And I'll call it introduction, and then introduction to the instinct level, something like that I'll call it. Anyway, it'll still be under guaranteed solutions, because it's part of that, for this reading. So anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I've had fun. You know what, I get clicks. I get clicks if I'm getting carried away and not really being of value to you. Please let me know, and I will fix that. Okay, so I just get excited by, it's like, oh God, yes, that makes sense moments, the clicks that we get. Okay, so what is Wendy saying? Charlotte is watching. Hi Charlotte, Nithyanandam. So yes, that is such natural flow, so comfortable, warm, and inviting. Love watching and listening to you, Ma. Great, thank you, Ma. And Saras is just as amazing with her Kalpataru. Y'all all have to please attend Saras when she conducts her Kalpataru session. I'll let you all know. You must go and attend her session. So, Hardis is Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. Oh, Hardis is saying Charlotte. This is like a little get together happening here. It's like Zoom room on Facebook. Wendy and Charlotte, yes. Right, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow. I wish you a beautiful evening. And happy manifesting, happy far manifesting. May all of your wonderful desires to have the best for yourself and for everyone around you be manifested immediately. What is Hattie saying? If you're not helpful, can you send me chocolates? No, Hadis, so that you can regret again. If I'm not helpful, you tell me how to be more helpful with the content, not with more chocolates. Good attempt though. Okay, guys, I wish you a beautiful evening. Watch the video on YouTube as well if you'd like to. Take care, Nithyanandam.